Hi, it's Jason Shattuck with PremierGuitar.com, and we are backstage on Broadway at Spider-Man with Matt, Zane, and Ben, who are the guitar players for the Spider-Man show. So guys, they're going to take us through their guitars and how they get the sounds they need for the show. So guys, thanks a lot for showing us around. So Matt, let's start with you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the guitars you used during the show?
Well, actually, Edge specified when we started that he'd like a Tele and a Casino. So I actually got this, it's a newer Epiphone Casino that I got directly from Gibson for this. I actually put the Bigsby on myself. And since I play left-handed, I actually had the knobs put over to the other side so that I could control it. I had Matt Brewster at 30th Street do that for me. Does all my work. A nice plug for 30th Street. And then this is a newish custom shop Tele that I've had in my collection for a long time.
And what are there certain parts of the show you use these specific guitars on?
Yes, actually this guitar has wound up doing all the EBO stuff. I found it to have the best tone with the P90s and the hollow nature of the body. It works great with all the EBO stuff, and I happen to we all do a lot of EBO stuff, but for me it sounds the best on that instrument. The Tele's used for the more spankier, brighter, clean and semi-clean type stuff.
And then tell us a little about the high-strung guitar here.
This Rickenbacker's pretty unique. We all brought extra guitars in at the beginning of this because we didn't know what was going to work and what was going to stick and what Edge would like and Bono would like. And this wound up on a couple songs. It's an electric and it's high-strung. I'm actually not sure the model. Do any of you guys recall? I remember Dallas Shue, Edge's tech, was saying he got this directly from Rickenbacker for us, and he was saying that they made it. So there's something unique about it. They made especially just for this guitar. I've seen this body shape before, but I think they just set it up out of the factory with as a high-strung electric, which is pretty cool.
So tell me a little about the strings you're using on your guitars.
On all my electrics, I use the Elixir Nano Web with 11s on the high E. They're coated with something that makes them last really long and retain that new string sound, that sort of brightness. I can go many weeks actually without changing strings. We do 8 shows a week, and with normal type strings, I'd probably want to change my strings at least twice, maybe even 3 times a week. And with those elixirs, I'm able to last tons longer with them. So I love those strings.
And now we're here with Zane Carney, who's going to walk us through the guitars he's using on the show. And let's start with this Explorer, who used to belong to the Edge.
Yeah, this Dallas brought one of Edge's 7 Explorers to the show to audition them, and we played Boy Falls from the Sky through the house, and Edge said we need this guitar on the show. So then it found its way into about half the show. Dallas was looking to buy this specific one from a collector for Edge's collection, but he ended up selling it to the show, and I guess maybe he'll buy it back one day. But it's been very good to us. I mean, it's a solid piece of, it's like a Volvo, but for guitars. So. And
do you use this on most of the show? Are there certain parts?
Yeah, most of the songs when you hear the lead guitar sort of screaming, it is this guitar. When Spider-Man flies for the first time in the house, a song called New York Debut, this is all over that song. Pull the Trigger, which has a guitar solo, sort of wah guitar solo that Edge wrote, that uses this guitar. Yeah, pretty much every spot that where the guitar is a featured voice, except for I think Bouncing Off the Walls, this guitar's used. So yeah, it's a pretty important piece of the show, and it's pretty crazy. It's definitely a unique instrument. It doesn't really sound like any other guitar I've played. It has a warmth and a darkness, but it bites on the top end too. I don't know how to describe it. And then I have an acoustic, a Taylor 314 CE, which I used to play with an artist named Jesse McCartney, and I got this guitar, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago when I was playing with him. And I was asked to pick out, my favorite one, and this, I guess it's one of their cheaper ones, but this sounds the best to me. So we brought this into the show, and I think it's only used in a song called Picture This. And yeah, it speaks nicely, and it's this whole expression system thing, to me, for live acoustic performance, is the closest thing to sounding the way I like. I kind of usually play with mic'd instruments, but if we're having to plug in, this sounds the best to me, so I like this thing. And then Fender sent over this Telecaster, but part of the reason the Telecaster is in the show for me is a little bit different than it is for Matt. When our band Carney sort of auditioned for the show, my brother Reeve, he plays Spider-Man in the show. Julie come to see our band play, and then she sort of, because Reeve had gotten the show, allowed us to audition to be in the pit orchestra. And when I played, Bono and Edge heard our band's recordings, and they wanted to have a little bit of that Carney sound, and they also, obviously, clearly, it's so influenced by their music, but Bono had a conversation with me about, we want to bring some of those weird things that your band does, and the Telecaster is pretty much all I use in my band. So I said, yeah, I'd probably just use my Tele a lot then, if that's okay. And Edge was like, yeah, of course. So a lot of the parts that we came up with on DIY World, some bouncing off the walls stuff, even though he hadn't played some of the stuff on Tele originally, I played the parts on Tele, added a few little effects, and it became sort of this dichotomy of the Tele songs in the show are mainly the songs that our band workshop with Bono and Edge, and then the Explorer songs are mainly the songs that Edge had done demos of and wanted to sound specifically like that. So I was using my Tele for a long time, and I use a blue Tele, so Fender sent over a blue one, even though it's not seen, unfortunately, anymore. We also we used to be on stage, two of us from Carney, so that whole thing kind of shifted when we went into the pit, but life is good in the pit. It's easy. We get to work sometimes late.
And you get to wear whatever you want.
We get to wear whatever we want. Yeah, I actually wore my pants on my head once, and the funny thing was, it didn't look good. It looked stupid, but I still did it. So that's my sense of humor is so bad.
And what type of strings are you using?
Strings. That's a good question. I use Diodarios. I actually, it's tricky to say that actually, because for a while I was using Tomastic Infeld Power Brights, the size 10, because I'm a wuss. These guys use stronger strings. Yeah, I started using Diodarios in high school and did this stupid thing where I was playing size 14 flat wounds on a Tele. I don't know why I did that. I was really into jazz, still am. But yeah, switched over to 10s, and that's pretty much what I use now. Heavy bottom 10s, Diodarios. So yeah, and I think that's pretty much it as far as my guitar. I have a nylon string as well that I use in the show, but didn't bring it over.
All right, Zane, so did Edge give you any tips or tricks as you were working with him on this music?
He said to stay off drugs, and I said, I think that's a good idea. But then he also gave me this other trick, which is similar, so kids also do that. He gave us these picks. He came up to me during tech process and handed me this specific pick, and it's actually a pick that he uses in the show. Dallas, his guitar tech, sent over a lot of extra ones, like 50. And whenever the Explorer is being used in the show, we turn this pick upside down, and this sort of grating, sort of edge is used on the strings, and it really does give it a different sound. I mean, it's very crispy and bright, and with the Explorer being as dark as it is, I can understand why he does this a lot. It really does bring out that top end. And I use these Dunlop 1mm, Tortex things, which I spent years, So I use these things, but they're really similar. I mean, they're both 1mm, and you just turn it upside down, and they're both blue. So it really it's a natural transition. So it's a very unique thing. And he does it on, I believe, on the Streets That Have No Name. I think he's playing a Strat in that. Is that what that is? And he has this upside down. That's how he gets all that chiminess. It's not just the Memory Man pedal and all that stuff. It's really this little trick. So I'm so sorry, Edge. I love you, and I thank you.
And now we're here with Ben, who is going to show us the guitars he's using as well. So let's start with this baritone you have here.
Right. Okay. Well, this is the Jerry Jones baritone. I brought a baritone into the workshops because I knew, as Matt said, we brought in a lot of extra stuff. But I figured with 3 guitars, sometimes the baritone is a great option because it's just going to occupy a range that the other 2 guitars are not occupying. So we ended up, I ended up getting the Jerry Jones in for the show, and it's modeled after the Dan Electro, of course. But this is a great instrument, and I tune it down to A, which is down a 5th. Some people tune down to B, down a 4th. So that's an A. That would be an A chord. So it's really great on the heavier, chunky stuff to be down in that register. And then, of course, the twangier, clean stuff with tremolo and stuff like that. It's great for that, too.
And what songs do you use this one on?
Wow, a lot of stuff. Pull the Trigger, so I'm an octave below what the guitar riff is. I use it on Turn Off the Dark, actually with Ebo on the bottom string, so it kind of sounds like a cross between cello and like an analog synth playing down low. I play it with Slide sometimes on the low string. Actually throughout the show, a lot of baritone.
All right, what else do you have here?
Well, I have Rickenbacker 12-string, which once again Dallas, Edge's guitar tech, got from us from Rickenbacker. Oh, look what it says in here. It says U2 in there. I guess Rickenbacker made this particular one for Dallas. I use this on one song with some slide and some chimey open chords, and it's tuned to regular 12-string electric tuning, and it's just a great sound. We love the Ricky 12-string sound. And then I have I also play a regular Les Paul standard and a Taylor 6-string acoustic, which are not here, but I do have the other Taylor acoustic. Once again, when we were workshopping the stuff at Sears Sound, another thing that occurred to me was bringing a high-strung acoustic or Nashville tuning acoustic, which I did. But then this guitar wound up being on, what's the song called again? Just Can't Walk Away. And I wound up modifying the tuning because Bono wanted this particular rhythm. So I changed the tuning from a regular high strung to E, A, B, A sharp, B, E. A little bit out of tune right now. So that I could play that rhythm and go through the chord changes. Etc. So it just added a really nice, different sound to that song. And this came from Andy Lund at Taylor, and they actually put together. This is the Taylor GS Mini, which is the newest in their sort of smaller travel guitar kind of range. But they very nicely put in the Taylor Expression System, which is not standard in this guitar, as well as the magnetic sound hole pickup. Which I have going through a Fishman Aura pedal and a tuner, and then to the house.
And then what type of strings are you using on these guitars?
Well, this one is sort of a custom gauge. I actually have the gauge written down somewhere. I can't remember it, but it's specific to high strung, and they're D'Addario electric strings. Because of the magnetic sound hole pickup, the bronze strings weren't picking up that well. D'Addario's on all the guitars. This is the D'Addario baritone set. It's the heavier of the two baritone electric sets. Because I'm tuned down to A, it needed the thicker string. I got too floppy. Oh, and on my Taylor 6-string, I use Elixir, the NanoWeb phosphor bronze 13 medium. Personally, I think those are amazing acoustic guitar strings because they really, really do keep their sound. And when you're playing 8 shows a week with a set of acoustics bronze strings, you probably would want to change the strings 2 or 3 times a week, depending on how your hands sweat and stuff like that. But these strings, you can go weeks without changing them. So, and they sound great and they feel great under the hand. So.
All right, so we've looked at all the guitars now. So Zane, you guys live, all three of you guys use Fractal Acoustic system. So tell us a little bit about what you use here and how you use it and why you're using it.
Sure, yeah. So this is the MFC 101. This is their foot controller. It's made by Fractal Audio Systems as well. And this over here is the Acoustic Ultra. So this is what the actual sound is being generated by. It can hold, I think, 387 presets. It's MIDI, and there are 3 MIDI banks of each of 127 sounds. So I just proved how bad my math is because that's not 387. 128 times 3. Anyway, so right here is where all the sounds come from. There's no speaker cabinet. It's just XLRs going straight to the house, which helps the front of house because it's a long distance from where we're sitting. We're actually not in the pit as a normal pit orchestra would be. We're in a basement room, and there are 2 basement rooms. We're so far away, so just straight XLR cables, because they're balanced and all that stuff, can go very long distance without losing its tone. So it's provided a lot of really useful things that we've needed for the show. Also, all the sounds are identical every night. The only thing that changed those, we were originally going to have an analog rack situation, each of us individually, and during the tech process, I actually had like a very tall rack that we had ordered, and I had all these pedals from Godlike Distribution. We got these Maxon 8999s, we got some Memory Man, like an old Memory Man, old Pog. There was a thing during the tech process with Julie and Bono and Edge where there's this sound that I've messed around with in my band where I use a Pog, sort of having this organ-type quality, and then I put it into a Hughes and Kettner Rotosphere. And then I also use my Memory Man and swell through it, and there's this sort of, it's a little bit similar to Edge's Infinite guitar sound, and we were thinking we were going to get that, and we were really excited. And then we discovered that, the cables can fail, pedals can fail. unfortunately, with the union rules, they can't have a guitar tech as part of the union budget. So we thought, oh boy, what are we going to do? So thankfully, Edge came up and said, hey, you know, on tour, we're thinking about using these Fractal Axifex things. They're really awesome. And he brought one by, we auditioned them, and we all felt like this totally can do it. We're looking to have it done, and it's much more consistent. And as far as you were asking before about the white tape on these, when Aiden and myself, you know, from Carnegie, when we were on stage, this was way too bright because there were a lot of dark spots in the show. That was one of the trickiest things about playing on stage with this specific show. We were on stage the entire show, more than any actor in the show, and we were in the darkness a lot of the time. So we had to get glow-in-the-dark sticks, you know, on our guitars, and these lights were they're so bright, which is a great thing about them for live performance. But for theater production, where lighting is so important, these red and green lights were shooting up in our faces. So we dumbed it down with this. And yeah, it's an amazing machine. I mean, I personally have 187 presets that I use in the show, which sounds like a joke, but there's a lot of stepping through, a lot of small, subtle things where they say, you know, you're a little bit too loud here, and you can write it in your chart and say, you know, pianissimo or whatever. But your sub, having used the volume pedal, it can be tricky to make sure they nail it every time. So I ended up just making, whenever there's a different dynamic, you hit a new pedal. Same sound, just down 3 dB.
So as you're going through the show, are the presets set chronologically as you go through?
I do that. We all have different methods. It would be interesting to explain if you wanted, but I have 1 through, you know, whatever it is. Then I change banks and go to bank B for Act 2. And I just go, you step through it. Hypothetically, we could put something in one of these switches in the back and just you tap it once and it just keeps going forward. I thought that would be dangerous. If you get off by 1, then you're, oh shoot, you know, might have an organ patch when you're supposed to be really quiet playing the EBO. So my subs, I'm not sure if they like all the pedal hitting. It is a little unfortunate, but I thought it would be more consistent since my specific guitar part in the show is kind of Jekyll and Hyde-ish. From being on stage, they wanted David Campbell, who arranged the show, and Edge wanted the guitar parts that were most being, you know, seen or heard to be played by the person on stage. So there are spots where it's like really loud to like quiet with delay. You wouldn't think that would make sense, and it really, you know, in some ways doesn't. But those got carried over to us being in the pit. So yeah, a lot of different sound changes for all 3 of us.
All right, Matt, and how do you use how do you set up your fractal to go through the show each night?
I think the main difference is, let me have that, I'll show you. The main difference is I chose to use a different bank of sounds for each song. So I have a setup of like the first song, which is number 1. I have a certain amount of patches that I use in that song. And for me, the most amount of patches I use is 7. So I have 7 buttons dedicated to different sounds in each song. When I'm done with that song, I page up to the next group of sounds. So everything changes in those 7. I found that to be the easiest thing rather than making it completely sequential from the beginning of the show to the end. It's a 3-hour show, and there's a lot of different sounds. Also, with the extra buttons that were left, because I had 7 that I dedicated to each sound per song, I set up different effects pedals in each one that could be used, turned on and off in real time. So if we were given a note like, oh, don't put that phaser there, or hey, can you put a phaser on there, I wouldn't have to like punch a bunch of buttons on the front panel. I could just turn them on and off through here and then save that patch. So that's the main difference to what I'm doing. I think, Ben, are you doing something similar?
Yeah, I'm doing something similar. I mean, I have, I think you'd have this too, but we've just labeled them actually with letters A, B, C, D, E, and on my setup there's only up to 5 in each song. So, and then in the music, I actually have colored stickers, you know, for different sections, B, C, D. So as Matt mentioned, the subs, of course, a big thing about doing a show is you have subs that will come in and play for you when you're doing other things. So it's very clear as they're learning the music. It's like here you're on B patch, here on A patch, here on C, and then up next song. Start again here at A, B, C. So it just makes it easier, less stuff to memorize for somebody, because not a lot of people have these at home. Of course, they're getting, you know, Axifex, Fractal Audio is getting really popular around the world, and with the Axifex 2, which I have at home, which is, the 2, which is amazing, big improvement actually. But a lot of people don't have these at home, so when people are practicing the show, before they come in and sub, they can't really other than coming in here and practicing with our system. So we try and make it as easy for them as possible.
Are you thinking about now, after you've messed around with the Acoustic 2 at home, that you guys might want to upgrade here?
Yeah, well, Acoustic 2 is great in many ways. They've got a lot of features that the one doesn't have. The only issue we have right now is that the patches from the Ultra do not load into the Acoustic 2. And there isn't, I believe there's no translation software or anything where you can load those in. So, if they get that sorted out, then if we upgraded to the 2, we could just load all our patches into the 2 and be great.
All right. Thanks a lot, Matt, Zane, and Ben, for showing us your guitars and all the tricks and secrets of Spider-Man. This is Jason Chadwick with PremierGuitar.com.